User Instructions for ISCP Appendices. ISCP Template Training Agenda, ISCP Appendices. Appendix A, Personnel Contact Data. Supply all required information for ISCP leadership and the outage assessment team. ISCP Director and Alternate, ISCP Coordinator and Alternate, Business Point of Contact, Outage Assessment Lead and Members. For each of the following teams, if applicable, you will need to copy and paste the table, change the team name to reflect that team, then identify both team lead and team members. Support teams: Primary Site Recovery Team, Alternate Site Recovery Team, Application Support Teams. Appendix B, Call Tree. A call tree is a document that graphically depicts the calling responsibilities and the calling order used to contact management, employees, customers, vendors, and other key contacts in the event of an emergency, disaster, or severe outage situation. It should include personnel who need to be notified in the event there is an incident escalation and anyone requiring periodic updates. In Appendix B, insert a call tree similar to the one depicted here, identifying who makes the initial notification sequence for the following: leadership, recovery personnel, facility points of contact, system owners, and contingency plan coordinators. Appendix C, Personnel Contact Data Vendors. For each vendor, you will need to copy and paste the table shown, supplying all required information for each vendor. Include the following information: vendor name and address, primary contact name, office number, emergency number, alternate contact information, any special instructions. Appendix D, Outage Assessment Process. Upon notification of an outage, a thorough outage assessment is performed by the outage assessment team utilizing a checklist. The checklist should include how to determine the cause of the outage, identification of the potential for additional disruption or damage, assessment of the affected physical areas, determine the status of the physical infrastructure, equipment functionality and an inventory of items that will need to be replaced, and the estimated time to restore service to normal operations. If your facility has an outage assessment checklist, then obtain a copy and upload it into Appendix D. If you do not have a checklist, then you need to obtain permission to use the one provided in the template package. You may supply your own using the checklist in the template package as a guide. Appendix E, Recovery Site. Identify the recovery site or facility where the mission-critical systems and operations hosted in the original facility will be resumed or recovered in the event of a catastrophic event that disables or destroys your primary facility, such as a fire. Should you have more than one facility, you will need to copy and paste the table shown, supplying all required information for each additional facility. Appendix F, Data Voice Telecommunications. Availability, diversity, and redundancy of critical communications are critical to sustain essential functions performed at primary and alternate locations, including devolution locations, as well as telework or mobile workstations. Identify the data voice carrier for communications, including calls, data communications, and remote access if an event disables or destroys the primary communications. Should you have more than one carrier, you will need to copy and paste the table shown, supplying all required information for each additional carrier. Appendix G, Alternate Storage Site. Identify the alternate storage facility where copies of system software, plans, and backup data are stored and recovered if relocation becomes necessary. Should you have more than one alternate storage facility, you will need to copy and paste the table shown, supplying all required information for each additional facility. Appendix H, Component Inventory. Obtain the list of the hardware and software inventory for the system. Hardware inventory information should include type of server or hardware on which the system runs, memory and storage requirements, all other pertinent details. Software inventory should identify the operating system, including service pack or version level, other applications necessary to operate the system, such as database and web interface software. Appendix I, Data Backup Procedures. Obtain a copy of the application or GSS-specific backup procedures. Copy and paste into Appendix I to ensure the capability exists for a full system backup. After recovery, or as soon as possible, a full backup needs to be performed and the backup media delivered to the alternate storage facility. Appendix J, Detailed Recovery Procedures. Obtain specific keystroke level procedures for the recovery of the system. This includes recovery procedures for all supporting applications and IS systems. An example of supporting applications or IS systems may include Windows, Unix, or Linux operating systems, applications, or database servers, or a web front-end server. For example, the restoration of a Microsoft operating system may include restoring the operating system, restoring WINS to the last known state, restoring DHCP leases to the last known state, restoring any remote database storage, reissue certificates, reinstall Windows Server Media Services, restore Active Directory, restore sysvol information if necessary, install OEM-specific device drivers, and install patches, updates, and service packs. Insert the procedure name and point of contact in Table 18. Procedures must be listed in the priority in which they need to be restored. Upload the procedure and change procedure name to reflect the name entered in Table 18. Repeat for each procedure. Appendix K, Validation Data Testing Procedures. Insert the procedures for testing and validation of data to ensure that data is correct and up to date after restoration. An example of a validation test would be to compare a database audit log to the recovered database, ensuring transactions were updated. Appendix L, Validation Data Functionality Testing Procedures. Insert the system functionality testing procedures to ensure that the system is operating correctly and is ready to return to normal operations. For example, log into the system and run a series of operations ensuring proper functionality. Appendix M, Concurrent Processing. Concurrent processing is the process of running a system at two locations until there is a level of assurance that the recovered system is operating correctly. These procedures should include length of time for processing the information on both systems and system validation. Note, for systems without concurrent processing, the following must be entered into the template. In concurrent processing, a system operates at two separate locations concurrently until there is a level of assurance that the recovered system is operating correctly. This system does not have concurrent processing as a part of validation. Once the system has been tested and validated, it will be placed into normal operations. Appendix N, Cleanup Procedures. Insert the procedures for cleanup after an adverse event. These procedures should provide a list of supplies that need to be restocked, the materials that need to be returned, plans, backup media, etc., and equipment to be returned, IT equipment, proximity badges, etc. Appendix O, Alternate Processing Procedures. Alternate processing procedures are the procedures that allow the business unit to continue the processing of information that would normally be done by the affected system. Examples of alternate processing include manual forms processing, input into workstations to store data until it can be uploaded and processed, or the queuing of data input. Appendix P, Business Impact Analysis. The information required to complete the BIA requires the completion of the Business Impact Analysis Business Process Analysis. To obtain a copy of the BIA data for HQ, contact the DRCP team. For an area office, contact the area ISSO. The information required in the following tables can be derived from the BIA BPA. mission essential functions, maximum tolerable downtime, system recovery time objective, MTD RTO gap analysis. This completes the ISCP appendices. To continue, go to ISCP Closing.